All right, let's dive right in. We're about to crack open the private journal of a guy who was, no joke, the most powerful person on earth. And yet, at the same time, a student of deep, deep humility. We're getting a look inside the mind of one of history's most fascinating figures. You know, this sounds like something you'd see on social media today, doesn't it? A piece of wisdom that feels like it was written by a self-help guru last week. But it wasn't. And that's exactly what makes it so powerful. These weren't just some abstract thoughts. No, they were mental tools, forged in the absolute fire of immense responsibility. So let's get into the story behind these words, the story of the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. So you gotta ask, right? How does a man who's destined to rule the entire Roman Empire end up becoming one of history's most famous philosophers? Well, long before he ever wore the emperor's crown, Marcus was being groomed for power. But his real passion was philosophy. You know, when he starts his journal, he doesn't kick it off with some big, grand imperial statement. Nope. He starts with gratitude. He literally lists out the virtues he learned from his family. Things like gentleness, integrity, and focus. And believe me, those qualities were about to be tested like never before. So while all the other Roman elites were caught up in drama and luxury, Marcus was learning to command something way more important: his own mind. And this training in Stoicism, this practice of self-control and mental toughness, it was going to prove way more valuable than any military training he'd ever get. And boy, was that philosophical foundation put to the test. Like, immediately. When Marcus takes the throne in AD 161, he doesn't get a honeymoon period. His entire reign was basically one giant, non-stop crisis. I mean, just look at this timeline. It is relentless. It is one catastrophe right after another. For nearly 2 decades straight, he's dealing with war, a devastating plague, famine, and to top it all off, betrayal from the one general he trusted the most. There was just no break. Okay, stop and think about this for a second. His best general betrays him and tries to steal the empire. And his first reaction? It's not just rage, it's not just fear, it's this deep, profound sadness. He's grieving over the fact that he's going to have to engage in a civil war. That one reaction tells you everything you need to know about his character. So that brings us to the big question, right? How on earth did one man handle all of this immense, crushing pressure, without completely breaking? How do you lead an empire when your entire world is falling apart? Well, he fought it with a weapon, but not a sword or a shield. He fought it with something private. A journal that was never, ever meant for us to see. This was his personal gym for the soul. He's scribbling these notes to himself, often in a freezing cold military tent on the front lines of a war. This wasn't philosophy for a classroom. This was a gritty, real-world toolkit for survival. All right, so let's do it. Let's open up this toolkit and see what's inside. Let's look at the core Stoic principles he used over and over again to build what's called an inner citadel, basically a fortress inside your mind that no amount of external chaos can ever touch. And this right here, this is the absolute foundation of everything. The core idea of Stoicism is a radical acceptance of the things you absolutely cannot change, and a fierce 100% focus on the things you can. And here's how he put that into practice. He was constantly drilling this into his own head. Separate the external events, war, illness, what people say about you, from your internal response to them. The events themselves, they're just weather. But how you choose to react, now that was his domain. That was what he could control. And this quote is that idea in action. It's basically a command he's giving himself. He's saying, look, it doesn't matter what crazy or awful things other people do or say. Your job is to be good. Their actions are their problem. His character, that's his. Okay, another huge tool in his kit was this idea of memento mori, which is a fancy way of saying, remember you will die. But wait, it's not as gloomy as it sounds. He didn't use this to get depressed. He used it to create urgency. If life is really just a blink of an eye, why on earth would you waste it on petty anger or chasing fame? The only thing that matters is how you live, right here, right now. So swords, sandals, Roman emperors, why should we care about this today? Because honestly, these private reflections are an unbelievably powerful guide for navigating our own chaotic, modern lives. Check out this exercise. It's so practical. It's basically a mental pregame for your day. Before you even get out of bed, you tell yourself, okay, today I'm probably going to deal with some annoying people, some ungrateful people. He's not being negative, he's being a realist. He's arming himself with patience before the battle even starts. And what about finding some peace in our noisy world? Marcus has an answer for that, too. He says that real tranquility isn't a place you go, it's not a vacation or a quiet room. It's a state you create inside your own mind. And the best part? It's accessible anytime, anywhere, no matter what's going on. He also had this amazing mental trick, sometimes called the view from above. He'd imagine himself zooming out, way out, until the entire Earth was just a tiny dot in space. From that perspective, our desperate scramble for other people's approval looks pretty silly, doesn't it? It gave him the freedom to stop worrying about praise and just focus on doing the right thing. So in the end, after all the wars, the betrayals, and the burdens, Marcus leaves us with the same question he was asking himself every single day. In this short, chaotic life, what actually matters? And his answer wasn't power or wealth or fame. It was just one thing: philosophy. And not the academic kind. He meant philosophy as a daily practice, the constant, difficult, but ultimately rewarding work of being a good, reasonable, and resilient human being. And that challenge is just as relevant for us today as it was in a military camp on the Danube 2,000 years ago.